Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, this is going to be an amazing episode with my brother Jeff. We're going to be talking social selling, artificial intelligence. We're also going to be talking about faith, family, and horses. Why are we going to be talking about horses? I'm sure you guys are going to be shocked that we're talking about horses on this show. But guys, I guarantee if you listen to this episode till the end, Jeff is going to give you 3 actionable steps you can take to use AI in your business today to start crushing it so you can live the laptop lifestyle like we both do. Jeff, my brother, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Rich. Thank you, Richard. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Now, I'm normally the host of a show, so I normally said welcome to you. My dyslexia almost got in the way.
I love it. So first question I'm going to ask to get it out of the way is, what is your definition of resiliency? Because I'm sure that your life hasn't always been sunshine, rainbows, sprinkles, and unicorns. So talk to us about resiliency.
Mate, yeah, well, I don't know anybody's life who's full of sunshine and unicorns, really. If they're telling you that, they're full of shit to start with. Look, 10 years ago, I tried to kill myself. You know, I was in a very hurting, angry, depressed state. And I was actually an atheist 10 years ago, and that's a whole nother story for another day. But now I sit here in front of you. I'm an online pastor too. So I've had a radical transformation over the last sort of 11, 12 years. And to answer that question, you know, to put it up to resiliency is learning how to love yourself. It's learning how to, you know, figure out your self-worth, and it's working out how to really get out of your head, get into your heart, figure out what, you know, gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. every morning. You know, like right now it's 6 a.m. here in Australia, and I'm on here with this podcast with you. You know, to do these sort of crazy things. Like, you've got to understand what it is that your purpose is. And I feel like if you could understand that, then any storm or any challenge or, you know, any sort of, you know, down and out experience is just part of the journey. You know, like, I think the best character that I can think of in history to describe resilience would be Paul, or formerly known as Saul of Tarsus. And, you know, Paul was on a mission, right? But Paul's mission, he copped jail, he copped shipwreck after shipwreck after shipwreck after shipwreck, and yet that guy never gave up. He was one of probably the most resilient characters that I've ever known in history, and he was determined. So I figure when you can get determined on the mission and the game that you're playing, you'll become resilient as a byproduct.
Okay, now you brought it up, so we're going to go there. I'm a suicide attempt survivor from Labor Day 2012. And when I talk to people that are have gone through that, there's 3 different days. There's the day before the attempt, there's the day of the attempt, and then there's the day after the attempt. So that one event has 3 different days. So take us back, if you don't mind, to those 3 different days and how it has changed your life to help you become the man that you are today.
Mate, we're 4 minutes into this call and we're already getting heavy. So I love it. Let's go. Yeah, okay. So let's look back. And I think these stories are really, really valuable for those who are going through crisis moments themselves. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to, you know, to be able to share this story with your community. And because I think it's when us men, especially, when we get raw, real, and vulnerable, you know, that's where people can connect and relate and resonate with a story, right? So the day before, my life was crumbling around me. You know, I look back at it now and I can see a lot of it was I needed to take a lot of ownership and accountability for my own bullshit. But you know, my life was we were on the verge of bankruptcy. The marriage, you know, beautiful white marriage right now, but it was all over but the shouting. I was not proud to admit it, but I was verbally abusive to Sarah. And yeah, call it what it is. It was abuse. I was very venomous. I was very angry. I was very hurting, in a world of shame, guilt, and denial. See, prior to that, 5 years prior to that, the doctors pretty much wrote me off and put me on a disability pension because I had a horse jump on my neck, and I ended up with 3 crushed discs in the back of my neck. And, basically I ended up having to get out of the workforce, and the doctors pretty much wrote me off. And so that was a starting point of that whole journey, because I lost my identity. And I was in a massive spiral of grief in that space, which then, just led to, the point, like my wife and I moved interstate probably 3 months prior to it, to start again, to start fresh, to, start new life, just to sort of take us out of our family situation with extended family and whatnot, just to go, escape it all and run away from it all and just go start again, start fresh. But at the time, we had a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, been married for about 3-4 years. And we brought all of our baggage with us. And it's funny because my wife grew up as a Catholic, and her last ditch attempt was to, try and save me, was to, in our marriage, was to, try and bring God into my life. And so she took me to a Catholic church, about 2 weeks prior to it all. And I sat down in the Catholic church, didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard, didn't feel known, and just felt so unloved in that space. And I'm not saying it was the church's fault. It's just who I was at that stage. And I got up out of that, and halfway through the sermon, I chucked a 3-year-old hissy fit and screaming at the top of my voice, tried this, never want any of this God crap in my life ever again. And I sort of, took the kids and just stormed out of the church. And, it was just episode after episode after episode like that. And I was just in a world of hurt, so the shame, the guilt, denial, the whole story in my head that the world would be better off without me really sort of took its toll. And, one morning, I'm standing at the bathroom window mirror, looking at myself in the mirror, just disgusted with who I saw. I had the bottle of Jameson's in one hand. I had the fistful of pills in the other. And it's 2:00 in the morning. I can remember this clearly as day. My 2-year-old son, he always used to sleep through the night. He was a really awesome sleeper. He woke up, he came into the bathroom and said, he just looked at me with his big, beautiful brown eyes, and he said, "Dad, what are you doing?" At 2:00 in the morning. And I was just about to, talk myself into doing it. And I was going to go do it. And then, stopped in my tracks. And, I now know that was God. And I just was hit smack bang with just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? And fell to the ground, fell to my knees, and, just hugged my son, and sobbing and crying. And 6:00 that morning, my wife walked into the bathroom. Harrison was asleep on my shoulder because I was just continuing to hug him. I couldn't let him go. And I was just in just a disgusting, yucky cry sort of mess. And that was the day that I decided to take ownership and accountability and responsibility and start looking for something else. I realized at that time that I was so lonely. I pushed everybody away from me. I was so angry, and I pushed everybody away. I still don't know to this day why Sarah stuck by me and why she didn't leave. I do now. She said, saw what God saw. But very, very grateful for the way that she stood her ground and the way that she stood for fighting for us and fighting for love. And so, pretty much a week after that event, I turned to my good friend Celine. I was a business coach at the time, and I just opened up. I said, "This is what's going on," and just word vomited all over her pretty much, and shared the whole story and the pain and the hurt of it all. And it was the first time in my life that I was just completely raw and transparent and real. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I wasn't trying to, lift up their self-imposed expectations in my head that I had built up. And she said, right, I got to introduce you to my friend Tim. And Tim was the pastor of our now church that we go to. And he just met me where I was at. He didn't try to, preach at me. He didn't try to, push religion onto me and all that sort of thing. And I pretty much said to him at the time, I said, mate, I'm an atheist, but I've tried everything the world's had to offer. And I'm open to learning about who this Jesus fella is, because I got no idea. And, I've tried, I'm open to learning how to love myself. And so it started there. Jesus met me there in that pain. And basically I went on a journey of love. And I went on a journey of how to really love myself through learning how to love Jesus and being in that relationship. That started there. And then, it was a pretty radical transformation, through inside of that, about 6 months. Look, I'd given my life to Christ with 3 months after that journey. I was baptized 6 months after. I was in India on a mission trip to India around 18 months after the fact. And
I love that. And, actually, before we hopped on, I'm actually rereading this amazing book. It's called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Because I love that, my wife, my best friend, my soulmate, my bride, when I almost had another suicide attempt about 4 months ago, my marriage was great, but I was at 0 and she was at 100. Sometimes they say marriage is 50-50. No, sometimes she was at 100 and I was at 0, and I just need her to hold me and let me know that it's okay, that she has my back. So for those people that think marriage is 50-50, it's not. Believe me, sometimes it's 100 to 0. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. I sum it up this way now. It's in any relationship, whether it be marriage, whether it be a business partnership, whether it be a school friend or church friend or whatever it is, like I was severely bullied as a kid at school. Grew up in an environment where my father was a workaholic, so never saw him. He was always truck driving. And it's probably why I'm so passionate about it now with community, is when we feel unseen, when we feel unheard, when we feel unknown, we feel unloved. And, Sarah and I, especially in our own marriage now, and with our kids, with 3 boys, we go the extra mile to make sure that we all feel seen, we all feel heard, we all feel known, which equals we all feel loved.
Okay, but let's talk about the injury, because I got injured in the military. I planned on doing 30 years, but I lost 80% of my vision. If you can't see, you can't shoot. We don't need you. Well, what is it like when you can no longer work with horses, or what is it like when you can no longer be a soldier and your whole identity was being that one thing? How did you reimagine and reinvent your life after not being able to do that one thing anymore?
Yeah, pride is an ultimate sin for a reason, right? And because it really does destroy us. And there's time for pride to serve us, but most of the time it's a hurdle, it's a block. And I grew up in a family that was a space that we couldn't rely on anybody. We had to do everything ourselves. So like the trust component was pretty hard. And so like I grew up on the land. I grew up in horse studs, and horses was my father's thing, and I'd really grown up in that environment where work hard, trust nobody, you'll get it. You'll get whatever you want in your life. You just do it yourself. You want something done right, go do it yourself. And so a lot of these things, I look back now that there's some very valuable lessons inside that. Yes, we work ethic and all of that, but it's a very lonely place, and it's a very distrusting place. And, so like building up your identity in that environment, it's hard. And, so I grew up riding horses before I could walk. And, I grew up being a person who was, mucking out stables from the age of 10. Going on, when I was 15, I was pretty much riding 10 horses a day. I was breaking them in, so I've gone from childhood straight into the workforce pretty much, and didn't really know any different. And so I grew up in that environment, loving horses, because that was the way that I could be close to my father, because he loved his horses. And so I had to start to realize that the horses were a thing that I really enjoyed doing, but it wasn't the horses. It was the quality time that I got with my father, because that was the only time that I got quality time. And because I was always the only time that I really felt like he was happy with me as well, because I grew up as the national champion of Australia for Western pleasure, horsemanship. So 97, 98. So look, I threw everything into that, and I was riding, my horse pretty much. I'd come home from school, I'd ride him for an hour every day. Like the horse work got done before the school work. That's how important it was for me. And when I was look back at all that, what I was seeking his approval. I was seeking his validation. I was seeking his recognition. And, like Maslow hierarchy of core needs says we need to make sure that we've got, a roof over our head pretty much. We've got our food in our belly, and we've got, the power turned on, and we can thrive in that space. Well, that's actually disproven now. And I can't remember the exact sort of, science behind it all. That's not who I am. But my understanding is no, that's not what we need. Like that's a need. Yes, we do need all that stuff, but there's something deeper. And what we need that sense of belonging. We need to feel like somewhere that we belong, and that we're valued, and that we are loved. And they're our core needs. When we've got those needs met, then we can start to build on the other ones, and we can start going up the hierarchy of core needs. But I think a lot of us skip those foundational fundamentals because are just not aware of that's what we really need. And for me, like, growing up in growing up on the land, working hard because that's all I thought I knew. That's what we had to do to get ahead in life. I end up finding myself, in that space in my early 20s, and, working on horse studs, getting caught up in the work hard, party hard mentality. And, so like that was my identity, and that's all I knew. But, having the horse jump on my neck, I now look back at it as a blessing in disguise. Not a great thing that, happened to me. I wouldn't wish the pain and the anguish on my worst enemy, but very grateful for the whole experience, because it's helped me it was a pattern interrupt, right? It helped me to become the person I am today, and realize and empathize around loss, around grief, around having to transform your self-identity. And so I think that whole self-identity question it's coming back to the core understanding of like why you are who you are, that self-awareness. They say in AA, the first step to recovery, right, is basically awareness that you've got a problem. Yep. So I think that's relevant to just about anything in life. And so this whole journey has led me on a real spiritual, personal development journey for the last 15 years. And when the doctors pretty much wrote me off at the age of 30, I hit like, shit, what am I going to do moment? Like, I don't know any other way to provide for my family. I've just started this family, shit, what am I going to do? Like I was brought up to believe that the man is the provider of the house, all of that sort of stuff. And it just shook up the core foundations of everything that I had grown up in and what I knew. And so like I didn't just lose my identity in that space that, oh shit, I'm a horse rider, and I can work, provide for my family by working hard. It shook up, and I lost all of my beliefs and my values and my truths inside of all that. So I had to rebuild that from the ground up. And it started with learning how to, figure out, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the limiting beliefs that I'm telling myself that are bullshit? All of that sort of stuff.
And I totally can agree, because once I lost my vision, I had to figure out what my new normal was, and knowing that, okay, I can't drive at night. I couldn't drive for 18 months. I'm only at 60% vision, so I'm very limited on what I can do. But I also realized that, like, one of my students, his name is Aaron Hale. He's blind, totally blind, and totally deaf. He's a podcast host, and he's an ultra marathon runner. So for me, what are my excuses when I know Aaron is doing all these things with his new normal? I just have to realize what my new gifts are. Like, I lost my gift to my eyesight, but my hearing has gotten a lot better, and some of my other senses have gotten better. So I've taken advantage of those. Is that what you're talking about? Is to find out what your new normal is and then start crushing it with your new normal?
Yeah, 100%. It's first letting go. You got to let go of those attachments and letting go of those expectations that you put yourself on, letting go of truths that you've built yourself up around. Because the subconscious mind, my understanding, and by the way, guys, like, I'm a high school dropout. I haven't done any university. I haven't done any university or anything like that. I'm just sharing what I have come to understand as a student in this space for the last 15 years, decade plus. And I'm just sharing my insights with you. So I want to make sure that disclaimer is in play. But my understanding of the subconscious mind is it's a very powerful tool. Like, it's almost the AI of our brain that drives and rules us. Our human body and everything you see is a vehicle of the subconscious mind. And how's this for a story? So, like, over the last 15 years with my chronic pain and all of that sort of stuff, I've put on some weight. I'm not sure what it is for the conversion for you guys in America, but I'm 135 kilos. So I think that's like close to 300 pounds. So, like, I'm a little bit overweight, and and I've been wanting to do something on it, and I've been trying to do something about it. And here's the words, right? I've been trying, and all of that sort of stuff. Like, I've been wanting and trying to do something about it for the last, 10 years. And with my crushed disc and my injuries from the horse riding days and stuff, I'd convinced myself that basically I'm allergic to exercise. Who's allergic to exercise? Like, that's a subconscious truth that I had convinced myself. That was my story. Don't worry about exercising because you're allergic to it. What do I mean by that? Well, every time for the last decade is I've gone to go get healthy, I've gone to go get fit, I've gone to go exercise, I've convinced myself that I'm going to end up in hospital. I'm going to aggravate an old injury. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? That was a limiting belief. It was my BS, my belief system, my bullshit story. And, so I gave up on exercise. What's the point? I'm just going to end up in hospital. So I convinced myself I'm allergic to exercise. Yeah. And that was reinforced by me basically putting that thought, that vibration out there, because I'd go do something. 3 months, I'm in hospital again, whatever it was. Right. So by about the 10th time, that had become my truth. I had reinforced it, that it was that, like, don't go exercising. You're going to end up in hospital. You're allergic to exercise. So I had my subconscious mind, my experiences that I kept bringing out and bringing onto myself. And what I'm talking about here is the law of vibration, and I'll come back to that. But I was bringing it on. I was a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I was, making it happen through just by putting that thought process out there. And the subconscious mind was always, what was it doing? It was looking for ways to injure myself. So I made that my truth. So, and then that gave me permission just to pretty much give up in that mindset and just adopt that truth. And I had to realize that that was a limiting belief, and I needed to go and do a deep dive into what was the thing that was actually convincing me that that was true. Where was the childhood story? Where was the story in the past that it had reinforced that truth over and over and over and over and over again? And so I actually used AI in a way to help me do a deep dive. I got it to ask me questions to help me to bring this to the surface. And there was a couple of things inside of that. Like for starters, I've been wanting to, take ownership of this now for the last 6 months, and I have been walking, but I've been, the last 3 months, I've been neglecting the walking and I've been pushing it aside because I've been so busy. I've been making excuses again. So again, I've got another excuse coming in, and we can either have our excuses or our results right, but we've got to understand where those excuses are coming from when they keep creating patterns. So we've got two stories here. It's like, I'm too busy and there's no point exercising because I'm just going to hurt myself. So then this starts to layer up. So you got to chip away at these stories one by one by one. And then once you understand what the limiting belief is, what the limiting BS story is, we need to then, fill that void because it's a vacuum, right? We need to bring in an empowering story. We need to bring in a plan to create a new truth. So our subconscious mind is very powerful in this space, and basically, our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions, and our actions lead to our results. And so that's the core fundamental truths. So, but if my thoughts are always convinced that I'm going to, hurt myself and I'm going to end up aggravating an old injury, the feeling of that is like, oh, what's the point? I'm start going to blame, excuse, denial space. So then my actions are, okay, well, look, I'll just focus on what I'm good at. I'm focused on serving in this space. I know that I'm showing up. I know I'm contributing, but at the meantime, my health is deteriorating, and I can only focus on serving in the short term, probably not the long term of the way I'm going. So I need to fix that. But my results are, my health is not great, but my business is, right? So now I understand that thought process and the way that our subconscious mind works. I've now brought my health and my walking and as a priority. We've all got 24 hours in the day. It's when people say they haven't got enough time to do things, what they're really saying is it's not a priority for me. It's not high up on my values. It's not high up on my priority list. That's what they're really saying. So it's basically what I was taught is we can have below the line or above the line culture in our own lives, in our own businesses, in our families, and everything that we do. But it starts with us. So below the line or above the line. So above the line is I'm taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility for my actions and my thoughts and my feelings. Below the line is blame, excuse, denials for my actions, my thoughts, and my feelings. And so when anything in life, this has been a really powerful tool for me, and it's been a check. It's like, okay, am I above the line or below the line? Where am I playing? And when I can step up and play a game, whether it's for my marriage, for my health, for my business, for my faith, or whatever, it's always, am I above the line or am I below the line?
And I agree. Like, I just started getting healthy again. I'm on my second month now. I wanted to do it before the new year started. Once I started talking to Aaron every day, and he's motivating me. But, like this morning, it was 6 degrees. I still went out to the garage. I still got my workout in because my excuse doesn't mean anything. My feelings don't mean anything. It's results. And I know that even if I just go do 25 sets of push-ups, I'm going to feel better later in the day just because I know that I got it done. But I think something you also talk about, what I'm hearing is, maybe not the exact words, is, manifestation, using our RAS system in our brains, that whatever we search for, we're going to find, whether it's health or whether it's sickness, whether it's being poor or whether it's being able to take care of our family and go on vacations. So whatever we focus on, we find, right?
Correct. Look, I don't like the word manifestation purely because it sets people up to fail. And like I've read all the, the Bob Proctor books, all of the personal development books in this space with around the law of attraction, The Secret, all of that. And it does, like, all that's doing is it's really just, it's the tip of the iceberg conversation. It's not, it's like it's showing you sort of like what's possible and how it's possible, and none of the why, none of the how, really. And so my understanding is, and the way that I like to describe this, manifestation really is just prayer. It's putting it's faith, really. And so, faith plus works equals where the miracle's at.
Yes.
But it's also, it's not expecting the miracle, right? It's that's the faith component in that, that there's a higher power and God's got your back. And if he's not, bringing the manifestation into your world that you're wanting to receive, then there's something bigger and better around the corner that he can see for you, right? So I really believe that, the whole law of attraction, manifestation space and all that conversation, it's look, the truths that you'll find in that are out of the Bible, and they've been secularized, and they're only giving you just enough to whet your appetite and just enough to be attractive, but without the substance, without the core, without the faith component, without the love component, it's a recipe for failure. And and I really believe that a lot of people are out there in a space of denial, in a space of hurt, because they've put their lives into manifestation for the last 20 years and they're still living these crappy lives. It hasn't come, but so with it's in that space of what I like to call it, instead of calling it the law of attraction, I like to call it the law of vibration, and go a bit deeper here. And the law of vibration is energy. It's energy transfer. And like we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yep.
And so like if we understand that we're spiritual beings, essentially, in layman's terms, well, that's energy, right? So if I look at, just right now, the energy that you and I have together is palpable. We're like attracting like, energy attracting energy, and love attracting love. You can feel it in the conversation, and it's having that heart to heart transfer, that heart to heart interaction of energy. Now, if I'm cranky, if I'm angry, and and there's the environment around me, the boys are angry, like we're all screaming and yelling at each other, and my wife walks into the room, and she's been out working all day, and she walks into the house, into that environment, to that energy. She has a choice. She can either contribute to that energy and get explosive and get angry and be just feed off the energy that's in the room, or she can be a thermometer, right? She can read the temperature of the room, or she can be a thermostat, and she can shift it, and she can break that energy by being a force for good, light, love, and joy and hope, and calm the energy down, and shift the energy into a peaceful environment versus a toxic, angry environment. So understanding these levels of energy and having cues and tools to help us to check ourselves and bring us back into that space of hope and peace and love, it's the best way to describe that is now our emotional energy. Our emotions are like, we're emotional beings, right? We're going to understand that our emotions rule our life. And when our emotions goes high, our intelligence goes low. So I like to call this the law of vibration, because when I'm working out of my desperate state, when I'm working out of scarcity state, when I'm working out of lack, and I'm putting that message out online, and I'm showing up to masterclasses, and I'm serving, just trying to sell people because I got bills to pay, and it's like, oh my God, like the wolves are at the door conversation. And if I don't sell this person here, it's in front of me today, I'm not going to be able to feed the family. I'm going to have the power turned off, that desperate state, right? That energy is transferable. And people can sense that energy, and they can sense that you're trying to sell them, and they can sense that you're running from a scared anxiety state. And whether they realize it or not, right, they can sense it. And so energy is like magnets. It's attractive and it's repelling. But it's also, if you're putting that negative energy, and it's not just like it's wrong or bad or wrong or anything like that. I just want to say, if you're putting that toxic energy out into the world, that energy that's below the line, the energy that's in that space of scarcity, lack, and anxiety and stress and anger, well, you're going to attract more of that energy into your world, because like attracts like. Right? So and this is why I teach our people in the Laptop Lifestyle Dads community to serve and not sell. Right? So to come at a space to add value to people's lives, to show up and shine, to be a servant-hearted leader, to give freely, to meet people where they're at. Right? Because that's attractive energy, and that's energy operating out of joy, out of love, out of peace, out of abundance. Right? And so then like's going to attract like. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years intensely. And my results and the doors that are opening up are divine intervention for sure. I can't do it by myself. But for example, like, how does little old Jeff Ross from Launceston, Tasmania, now on first name basis with Joseph McClendon and building funnels for him? Like, how does that door open? Yeah. Like, it's me showing up. It's me not being attached. It's me just saying, yes, how can I serve? Me building connections first and building my network first, and really just going into that space of love and abundance. And then I can count you right back to about 7 generations of connections of people who have introduced me to this person, to introduce me to this person, who's introduced me to this person. And now I'm on first name basis with Joseph McClendon, and I'm building funnels for him.
Yeah, it's amazing that right now we have 2 high school dropouts sitting here, giving our hearts out, being in rooms that we should never be in, but God lets us be in those rooms. For me, it's an honor to be able to sit and chat with you. It's an honor for able to be sitting and chatting with Jonathan Mast about AI. This stuff, I should not be in a room with you guys. And I realize, but if it wasn't for him putting us together, like, Jonathan's a man of God, you're a man of God, I'm a man of God. Without him, we wouldn't be connected. Not at all. One thing I want to talk about, is, like, my wife even said yesterday, we went away for the weekend, and she's like, everybody you meet like you always get the best parking spots. She's like, you always get the best parking spots. You always get the best deals. You walk around in favor. She's like, God has put a favor on your life. And I'm like, because that's what I put out there. I put out there the positiveness. I put out as much positiveness as I can every single day. And I believe that it comes back. So that's a part of putting out that energy, right?
Correct. And that's why I call it the law of vibration, not the law of attraction, because, a law of attraction is like, okay, I'll put my affirmations out there, and some people get this right, because they're operating out of that right energy, the right vibration, right? But then, some people just put out their affirmations, but they're not putting the right heart into it. They're still coming from a space of lack and scarcity, and the emotions of stress and anxiety, and don't realize that, if I just say good things and say positive things, that, that's not what it's all about. It's about getting your emotional state in the right place, and then getting your right vibration in the right place, and then layering on the right tools and the right affirmations and the right prayers. See, for me, I don't call affirmations, I call it prayer. Right? It's for me, it's a conversation with God, and that's the faith component into it, and then I let it go. It's like, if I pray into something, I just let it go, or I ask basically for guidance, and I come into that attitude of gratitude. And I operate out of that space. Now, am I perfect at this? Hell no. I'm still like, I grew up for I'm 42 just a couple of days ago, my birthday. For
January
30
20th.
years.
January 20th was your birthday.
There you go. Yeah, yes, Organization Day.
Yeah.
So, coming back to that, I'm an expert in 30 plus years of growing up as a very angry, abusive asshole, to put it bluntly. I'm an expert at that because that's all I know. And in the last 12 plus years, I've had to learn this opposite side of that. And so I do have a temper, and I can fall back into old patterns. But what has helped our marriage, especially my wife Sarah, and what has helped it thrive, and and look, I'm more in love with my wife today than I was when we first got married, and she is in reverse. What's helped that is the fact that we understand some of these very powerful tools around how we're wired, and how our emotions rule our life. And that's going to give us the space for grace and understanding to come into space and learn how to forgive each other and forgive ourselves. So, learning the art of forgiveness and the skill of forgiveness and seeking to understand the other person's point of view and not making it all about me, myself, and I, and how can be all about we, us, and they. And, understanding those principles have helped us to, fall in love with ourselves, fall in love with each other, fall in love, serving our boys as parents, and understanding that we own nothing. We're only stewards.
Yes.
God's given us, we're only stewards of everything that God's given us. And, it's not ours to keep, and we don't take it with us to heaven. So you're understanding a lot of these core fundamental principles are able to help us to step up and shine and step up and to serve. And when we get into that space, then yes, God blesses us. And now I don't believe in the I want to be very clear here. I'm not into the prosperity doctrine. I'm actually I'm very anti-prosperity doctrine, but I am a man of faith. I'm a man of love. I'm a man of relationship. I'm an ambassador for Christ. And it comes to that. And so, there's always a premise before a promise, as Rick Warren says from Saddleback Church, right? The Bible is full of the Bible is full of it. There's a premise before the promise. We have to do our part before God will do his. It's a partnership.
And, but one thing, talk about prosperity, and then I want to get into social selling. I believe, like you, I own nothing. God lets me borrow it. Just like I'm letting my son borrow my car. I don't own it. God owns it, so I'm letting him borrow it. But I believe that if I realize that he owns it all, I don't own nothing. I'm a son of God. So if he lets me borrow my house, he's going to let me borrow the beach house.
Yeah.
If he lets me borrow the Kia, he's going to let me borrow the Corvette. As long as I know I don't own it, it's not mine and it's his. And if I keep it in the right perspective, I think we can become more successful, because once you realize you don't own anything and you're a steward of it and you're grateful for it, God is like a regular father. If I see my kids, if I give them something, if they appreciate it, if they take care of it, they say thank you, they're grateful, I want to give them more. If you're a brat, I don't want to give you any more.
It's a bit like that. Look, God doesn't work off recipes or, like he's God, right? You read the book of Job, and you can understand that straight away. God doesn't work off of patterns, systems or recipes or anything like that, So I think Job is the ultimate book of learning how to suffer well, and Christ was a perfect example of suffering well, right? He sacrificed his life for us in that space. So when you understand that life is about suffering, but it's not suffering alone, it's about suffering well. And also understand the core principle of, look, God is, read the Old Testament. He's a jealous God. He's a little bit selfish. He's got all the human emotions there too. He is God after all. He's the creator of the universe, and we are just reflections of God, and we've got God in us now as temples of Christ. So if we realize all that, and then we take the whole concept of, it's not about us. It's about how can we serve him, and how can we bless others, and how can we be a blessing to others, and how can we help bring heaven on earth and his kingdom down here, and whatever he gives us and provides us is the ultimate objective is to be his ambassadors of love to bring heaven on earth to here. So then, yes, he will give us resources and tools and stuff to be able to help serve his kingdom, his purpose, not ours. You know, and I think that's the yin and the yang conversation, the devil versus God conversation, you know, type sort of thing, right? And so that if you understand the core fundamentals of who God is and who the devil is, you got to know dark before you can know light. You know, the devil's responsibility, his job is to steal, kill, and destroy, right? Yep. And God's is to, you know, love, joy, hope, all the fruits of the spirit, right? And peace and unity. You know, God's love language is obedience. And it's obedience in that space to you know, he wants our heart first, right? You know, if we talk about tithing for a second, you know, there is actually no reference of Jesus saying we have to tithe 10%. That's all Old Testament stuff. And I like to call it the Old Testament, the Old Covenant versus the New Covenant. The Old Covenant, the rules and the laws and the regulations and all that sort of thing, the laws of Moses for the Old Covenant was for those people at that time. You know, when Jesus came down to earth, he said, okay, the Old Covenant is done. We're now in New Covenant days. And we need to understand from the perspective of that we're in New Testament times. So we can learn the lessons from the Old Testament. We can learn the lessons in history, you know, and that's what they are, right? The history lessons, because if we don't learn our lessons from history, we're doomed to repeat them.
Yep.
But ultimately, as ambassadors of Christ, as his followers, you know, to put it down simply, where, you know, it's the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. Everything else is summed up in those two, as he says in the Bible. And, you know, so like, you know, Jesus never said we had to tithe 10%. You know, that's an Old Testament thing, right? That's Malachi. But what Jesus says is in the Bible is we give everything to God that's God's first, right? So what it's really saying is God wants our heart first. And if we're using money, if we're using money as a crutch and as an idol first before God, as a block before God, not a bridge for God, and you know, so the heart and the transformational fruit of love is generosity in our times, talents, and treasures. And if we're not, you know, and if we truly love each other as a community of Christ, then we'll be generous in our time, talents, and treasures, and we'll serve one another in that space. So, yeah. So that's the fundamental foundations for my faith. My faith's not on a book. It's not on relationship regulations. It's not on law. It's not on I must do X, Y, Z to get in heaven. My faith is built on the foundation of love and relationship and love for myself, love for God, and love for his, you know, his daughters and sons. So my brothers and sisters in Christ.
No, and I love it. And we're that perfect caveat right into social selling. I believe, and I don't remember like I said, I'm a 9th grade dropout. But I've read over 6,000 books. I have 18 books going to right now, plus 2 audio books, plus LinkedIn classes. So I get my quotes. I get my quotes mixed up. But
same here. I can totally relate to that.
I think it might have been Gary V that said that one of his quotes were that, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think in selling or sales, for me, that's why I've excelled at selling, because I never wanted to sell them anything. I wanted to solve a problem.
Correct.
And so let's talk about social selling. Break it down Barney style. What is social selling?
Yeah. Look, it's a fancy marketing term. That's what it is. You know, I've been in the game since 2010, and basically it started off with make money online, and then it was turned to internet marketer, then it was digital marketer, and then it was attraction marketing. Then it was, you know, like you've got network marketing, you've got the e-commerce drop shipping models, you've got several different ways to make money online now. Back when I first started, there was only a couple of different ways. But social selling itself is just a term. And so it's an attractive term. And the terms change because of good old Facebook and social media. They don't like, make money online terms anymore in their copy. They don't like, internet marketer anymore because there's been too many people who have scammed too many people and trust is an all-time low. So just understanding the power of words and understanding that we're playing the game here too with our marketing terms. And so social selling in itself is just a term, but to sum it all up, it's what everybody else is using too. So there's some marketing stuff around that as well, right? It's speak caterpillar language versus butterfly language. And I'll come back to that before and after, right? So we're meeting people where they're at and what the terms that they're used to and, everybody else is using, they're familiar with. But to sum it up, social selling is for me, it's attraction marketing 101, right? It's just another term for attraction marketing. And attraction marketing, when you bring that down to it and boil it down to, Barney style, into the essence of it all, is it's influencer. It's learning how to, if you haven't read the book yet, highly recommend it. Dale Carnegie is the author, but how to influence people and how to influence people and win friends. That's all social selling really is. Boil it down to it, right? It's good old fashioned networking.
But for me, if I didn't meet you and we didn't form a friendship over the last, I think we've been friends now for almost a year, and didn't ask anything from each other. We're just grateful for our friendship. And you invited me to your amazing group, and I'm learning new stuff every single day. But if we would have just got in there and be like, "Hey Jeff, I'm Richard Kaufman. I'm the #1 best-selling author, blah, blah, blah," you would have just shut me off. You would have just delete or just blocked me. Or if you would have just came out and be like, "Hey, I'm Jeff Ross. I have this top-selling group, blah, blah, blah," you would have just went over my head, and we would have never really got together. So I think it's building relationships, right?
100%. Yeah, it's relationship building 101. And that's why I say it's just networking 101, because that's what networking truly, really is. It's not about sales. Sales is a byproduct. It's about building the marketing terms, right? Is know, like, and trust. I go deeper than that. And I say it's about building community. It's about building community of people who connect with you, who relate with you, who resonate with you. And it's about, finding your vibe so you can find your tribe and building community and a servant-hearted leadership first. It's service first, sales second, so look, we're all in business. We've all got to make money. We've all got to pay the bills. Money is like oxygen. We need it to survive. That's the way our world's built. And so totally, not discounting money and the power it has, but money itself is just a tool. And when we can get into our out of our heads and into our hearts, when we stop making it about me, myself, and I, when we start making it about others and how can I add value to your lives. So, my mantra is every person that I come into, that God gives me opportunity to speak to, that I'm leaving them with a golden nugget of love and hope and joy in their lives. And I'm adding value first.
But you put out a post about 57 minutes ago about people buy in. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, about how people buy into you before they buy into your product. So talk about that post and talk about what the meaning behind that post is.
Yeah. Products and tool are just tools. They're services. They're just vehicles. And how do we help people get from Sucksville to Awesome Town? But so people buy you first. They trust you first. And so this is about really understanding the power of influence and building that influence and leading in. When you stop, it's funny, when you stop selling and you start serving, you actually sell more. You really do. It's because it's okay, let's break it down right. I really feel that trust, the currency of trust, is at a record all-time low, because everybody out there is trying to sell everybody. The internet now, especially with AI, is a very, very noisy competitive space. And, there are so many spammy Tammies and direct pitch Peters, I call them, out there, trying to say, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit. That's all you hear. Right. And it's the same pig with different makeup on. And, so it's just story after story after story. My inbox, gets flooded with what you just said, with people trying to sell me 10, 15, 20 times a day. Yeah. And, it started off with just once or twice a day, but as my influence has grown, so has the demand to try and get my attention. So attention is another currency that it's an all-time low, right? With TikTok, with, self-gratification, instant gratification. It says that, our scientists have proven that our attention span's less than a goldfish now. Like a goldfish has like an attention span of about 3 seconds. Ours is less. Yep. But once you grab our attention, what I go through the caveman test, and we're all looking at everything. What's in it for me, really? And so as a marketer, I always pitch it, okay, what's in it for my people? What's in it? How can I serve them? What's that question that they're asking themselves at 3 a.m. in the morning, full of anxiety and stress, and it's keeping them awake? And how can I jump into that space right away to serve, to add value, to grab their attention, to build trust, to find that connection where they get to know me, like me, and trust me, and build that relationship up. And it's, and it's when you understand these core fundamentals and you have some systems behind you to take people on the journey. Now it's not attachment. I'm not attached to the sale. I fall in love with the process. I just show up and I just shine. And I know that, it's a numbers game. The more people that I can serve, the more people that I can bless, the more people that I can bring an awareness to how this is done, the more people I get to engage with, the more people I get to bring into our community. And if I'm teaching people how to do exactly the same thing, then duplication comes in. And it's not just all on my shoulders to do it. We're building a movement now, and it's a movement of love, and it's a movement of joy and peace. And we're doing this together. And so we've got duplication happening, and we're all operating out of that space of just, how can I serve? How can I show up? How can I help you? My ultimate question right now, Richard, for you is even, how can I help you? And so like when we make it all about that service and about the other people, then when what actually happens is, it's time and time and time again. Like I don't even ask people on my sales calls now, okay, you're ready to get started. They ask me, Jeff, what do I need to do to get started? And it's okay, cool. Well, look, you've opened the door. Here's the process. This is your options. So it's about having something for everybody. It's about being strategic, and, it's about taking people on the journey. But, I think here's the thing, right? We've all got to slow it down. We've all got to come back to meeting people where they're at, meeting people in their pain, meeting people in their need, and just coming up alongside them and just say, hey, how can I be your friend? And just meet people in that space of, how can I help? How can I serve? And, and this is what I do all day long, every day for the last 5 years now to this point.
And me too. It's like, I'm in your DMs a lot, and I'm just like, hey, Jeff, hope you're having a great day, brother. I just want to let you know that you're loved and appreciated. Yeah. And a lot of people, when you send that, they're like, okay, what do you want? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. I love you and I'm praying for you. I just want to thank you for being in my inner circle. And a lot of people, they don't get messages like that. They get the, hey bro, I can 10x your podcast, or hey, how can I want to buy my stuff, instead of just somebody getting a message saying, hey, I just want to let you know I love you, brother.
Yeah.
That's life changing. We might send a message like that, and they might be having the hardest day in their life, and they just get a message like that, and they may not want to take that bottle of pills. They may not want to run off the track and kill themselves. You never know who you're going to affect by even just sending a nice personal message or a handwritten thank you note.
Yeah, look, so here's some coaching for you, Richard, and I'll give you some coaching and that whole conversation and how you can up your game. As I said right at the beginning of our interview, people want to feel seen, heard, known, and loved, right? So even just instead of getting into my DMs and just saying, "Hey Jeff, how you going? Look, mate," and almost, there's a tension point right there because unless I didn't know you, which I do, unless we didn't have the relationship and the foundations, which we do, that comes across as like everybody else, right? Getting into your inbox and trying to sell me.
Yep.
So what I do is I preempt that, and I go say, "Hey Richard, I saw a post that you were out with your wife on an amazing date. I love to know, like, tell me about that story, like what happened in that space." And so I ask questions that I already can see something that's already happened online, that's already part of your world to help you make you feel seen, heard, and known, right? And so I meet you where you're at. So like if someone got into my inbox, and here's a tip for all your listeners, if you want to connect with me, like do something different to where everybody else is doing it. When everybody's zigging, find the way to zag. So like I love DMs. I love part of the structure, and I teach it in our Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy. And my 5-step structure to, cutting through the noise is step 1, start a conversation, but start a conversation from a place of posture. Start a conversation from a space that, you're helping people to feel seen, heard, and known, right? So, because people don't care about what you know until they care about what, how much you care, right? So they know how much you care. So coming back from that basis, step 1, start the conversation. So step 1 is, so like I could go to Richard's profile, or he could come to my profile, for example, and go, "Hey, Jeff, I can see that you're a father living in Australia. It looks like you got 3 amazing boys. And it looks like you're part of the laptop lifestyle, helping people do that. Hey, Jeff, like, tell me something about you that nobody knows. What is it like, raising a family in Tasmania with, with the whole laptop lifestyle?" So straight away, what he's done is he's cut through the noise. He's cut through the attention span. He's shown me that he's gone and done some research, that he truly does care about what I have to offer. And he's shown me that I feel seen, heard, and known. And if someone gets into my inbox and approaches it like that, versus all of Jeff, "Hey, how are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you?" Straight away, there's a difference, right? There's an eclectic point of difference. And I already feel right from the very first message, I feel known, seen, and heard. So if we approach it that way, then step 1. So step 1 is start the conversation. Step 1 from a basis of making people feel loved. Step 2 is now I can start asking. Now sort of the doors are opened, right? Now I've got a connection point. We've gone back and forth a couple of times in that conversation. We've now got a basis of understanding, and we're now starting to go through that know, like, and trust. Now, so you've got to, that's your number 1 asset in anything doing this space, is that relationship. So you've got to protect that relationship now. But I can start asking. Step 2 is this basically qualifying. So qualifying and an invite. So I can start asking now qualifying questions in this conversation to see if there is an opportunity that I may have something for Richard to be able to, or vice versa, to serve me, to help me. But I'm not just asking for ways to, sell people. I'm literally getting curious, and I'm wanting to find out what Richard's Sucksville state is, or the person's Sucksville. What's their pain? What's their challenges? Basically, what's their reality? And then inside of that, in that qualifying questions, I wanted to understand where they want to be. What are their goals, and what's stopping them from getting where they need to be? And what, and also, like, let's celebrate the conversation. Like, what have you done in the last 12 months that you've succeeded in? And so in this whole space, we're going deeper, and we're making people feel valued, heard, seen, known. And that's where trust is developed, right? And then once we've got that established trust, and that we know that, hey, I've got something that could potentially be something of value to you. Now, I don't sell, I invite. And I use a story to match up to, Richard's pain, or the person's pain in that story, their challenges, to present the opportunity for them to come and explore this for themselves. So it's be, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Richard, I've got this great solution for you, blah, 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 blah. So that's a story. And then basically my close in that story is, hey, would you be open to come checking out and see if this is a good fit for you? Right. So going back, right, with step one, we've started the conversation. Step two, we've qualified and we've invited people to come check it out. Step three is once they say yes and they can see that they're curious and they want to know more about your solution, then step three is don't be a tool, use the tools. And if you don't have a tool, create a tool so you're not the tool. Right? So create a promotional video.
I love that. I love that. Don't be a tool. I love
I got to give credit to Kylie for that one. My friend Kylie Thompson, she shared that one with me, and I've ran with it. It's a beautiful. So don't be a tool, use the tools, right? And so tools get you out of the sales conversation because nobody really likes selling. Well, we do love serving. We do love pointing people in the right direction, and everybody loves to buy, right? So so don't be a tool, use the tools, and if you haven't got a tool, create the tool to do the job for you. Right. So then so step three is share the tool. So invite people to come check the tool out. And that could be normally it's a 3-minute video. Normally it's a funnel. Normally it's a lead magnet. Normally it's something to help them get some sort of transformational results in their lives. Step 4 is follow up. And my simple question with follow up is, hey, did you go check out that XYZ tool? What did you like best about it? And I just simply asked that question. That question's made me over $1 million+. What did you like best about XYZ? What did you like best? Was it this or was it that? For example, with Dream Trips, it was, hey, what did you like best? Was it the business opportunity or was it the travel club? So presenting the question in a style that's an open-ended question, but it's going to get to me where I need to be. What did you like best? And then they'll come back and tell me, and then I'm always going to say one thing. Me too. Here's why. Everybody loves that me too factor, right? It's that connection point going deeper and deeper and deeper. So then I share another story around why. And then the fifth step in this process is the close. Is sell them, sign them up, bring them into your team, whatever that is, but it's the close, right? So my question to close is, hey, me too, blah, blah, blah. Here's why I like all that. Hey, do you have any questions or are you ready to get started? So I'm always asking questions, right? Questions are the answers. And I'm taking people through a framework that just is going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And people feel that they see heard, known, and trusted, or vice versa, that relationship's going through now. And simply, hey, have you got any questions or are you ready to get started? Now, when people start asking you questions, I love that. Because they're bought into it now. Now they're just trying to justify it logically to figure out, is this a really good fit for them? So get curious about those questions. You support them. You hold them hand. You answer their questions transparently and vulnerably and real, upfront. And then by going through this process, we don't have to be attached to the results. It's just always putting us in the position to serve. And customer service 101 is to basically support people.
I love it. And I love it. And I'm so grateful because, even though you're 30 something years old, I'm 56 years old. I'm still willing to learn. I'm still an open book. I'm still humble and teachable. So I just want to say thank you for that, my friend. So the last couple minutes, let's talk about AI because I believe, and I've learned a lot from you, from Jonathan Mass, that if you take AI, which is new school, and you put them together, you can't lose. You can't lose if you put them both together because, you can use the AI on all the new stuff, but as long as you let people know that you like, trust, and care for them, you're going to become more successful because this way I'm able to get all the younger people that are get really hung up on using AI, and I still get the older crowd that are still used to love getting handwritten thank you notes, somebody actually picking up a phone to call them instead of just text them. So I think old school plus new school, you can't lose, right?
Correct. Nah, look, I describe AI as a Ferrari. And it's the best car on the market. It's the fastest car on the market. But hey, if you get it behind that driver's wheel and you don't know how to drive a Ferrari, you're going to crash it and it's going to be a weapon, right? So AI is a very, very powerful tool. And there are a lot of people out there who are, kindergarten kids behind the wheels of a Ferrari. And that's great. I love it. Learning is messy. Pioneering is chaotic. It's messy. It's the old pendulum swing. And, but there's a lot of noise out in the world now, thanks to AI. People have putting up AI generated content and you can see it through, red flags, left, right, and center, especially if you're in this world. But I love that the people are experimenting, and that's where I started as well. And they're having a go. Learning is messy, right? So I definitely want to acknowledge that space. But my mantra is it's AI plus our heart equals our superpower. And so if you're looking at AI and treating it as a replacement, then that's where you're going to fall over and you're going to fail. But if you look at AI as a partnership, and it's basically looking at AI first mentality in how can I partner with it to amplify my voice, to amplify my creativity, to leverage it as a tool and treat it as a tool, then AI is a very powerful tool. But just like a hammer, I can grab a hammer and I can put that hammer in a 3-year-old's hand and I may get a nail knocked into a piece of wood. May. But if I take that same hammer and I put it into a craftsman's hand with 50 years experience, who's an expert at his trade, then I could potentially get a cathedral. Master, like 18th century, master and craftsmanship, beautiful works of art and skill, and get a cathedral. So, AI is just it's a tool, and we've got to respect it like that. And it's a very powerful tool. But yeah, you learn how to, use it properly. And this is what we're doing in the LLD community. And I know that's what, Jonathan Masters, Jeffrey J. Hunter, and, Julie McCoy, like, we're pioneers in this space ourselves, but we're teaching people how to use AI in a responsible way to be able to help them to fast track their journey. And basically, I truly believe now, if you're not using AI, if you're not learning to use AI, you're going to get left in the dirt. Get left in the dust. Just like technology revolution, technology revolutions we've seen. I'll just finish off this thought here. So technology revolutions that we've seen, just like the tractor, when it first came around, it took jobs away. It took jobs away from the people who were the horse and the cart and the plow. Right. So yes, AI is going to take jobs away, but what it's going to do for us is it's going to take away those boring as batshit jobs that nobody really wants to do anyway. And so it's going to automate a lot of those bottlenecks and the boring parts of our workforce and our traditional workforce. And it's going to help what it really believes it's going to do for humanity is it's going to up level us into that space of creativity and, amplify our skill sets and go through that. Like I saw a post there the other day that AI now can detect breast cancer 5 years before the doctors can. So like you can put up a scan and it can detect something as microscopic in the breast and go say, right, that cell right there is going to turn into a cancerous tumor. And so like even 5 years before the doctors can, or something crazy like that, right? So AI is going to help us to create a longevity in our lives. It's going to help up level humanity in that creative skill space. And they'll, just like, the computer revolution did something similar. It took jobs away from those people who were doing things manually and sped the processes up and helped them become more efficient in humanity and a fast track communication to like what we have today. AI is just going to do what, the last 100 years has done and it's going to do it in the next 10 years. So I truly believe like we're on a very fast track for a human human evolution. This is not a revolution. Like, yes, it is a revolution, but it's more than a revolution. We're evolving, in different stages really fast.
And I agree with that. But like for me, I started learning about AI as soon as Gary Vaynerchuk said you need to start learning about AI, and it's been about 2 years, I think. But for me, I've got like 4 or 5 different tools that I try to use, and I try to learn the actual how to use the tools. Like I'm a musician, I'm a guitar player. Mm-hmm. I can't learn to play one thing on the guitar, one thing on the bass, one thing on the drums, one thing on the piano, because I'm never going to get good at any of them. But I see a lot of people in our groups, something new AI came out, so let me sign up for that one. This new AI came out, and they're not really. They have so many that they're trying to learn instead of taking like a handful and say, okay, let me dig down on this. Let me get into the minutia of it so I can actually start using it instead of just trying to learn 40 different AI programs.
Yeah, it's a societal problem. There are a lot of jack of all trades but master of none.
And I love ChatGPT. That's what I love. That's me personally. Other people are different. So somebody from our group, I asked him, I was going to have you on. I forgot his name. But I asked him, what do you want me to ask Jeff? And he said, where do we begin? Where does the business owner begin that wants to learn about AI? Where is the beginning point?
Yeah. Brian, I saw Brian, actually had a call with him just before I jumped on here to ask that question. So
yeah, Brian.
Yeah, great question. Where do we begin? Look, it needs to start with, I reckon, figuring out your heart-centered, purpose-driven mission. Like it's not even about learning AI or tools or, what attraction marketing or social selling or all that sort of thing. When we do our Laptop Lifestyle Data Academy, there's 2 areas we start with our students. Who it is we're going to serve. And like, I'm not just talking about niching down and figuring out the demographic of like an ideal customer avatar. Like I'm talking about who it is we're going to serve, why it is we're going to serve them. Are we the best people to serve them? Do we love serving these people? What makes us the best in the world with serving these people? Our experiences, our stories, type of thing. How can we meet them where they're at? So we need to understand, very, very intimately who it is we want to serve. So you need to nail your niche. But a lot of people only, when they go start niching down, they only start on the surface level and they only figure out the demographics. I'm talking about when you understand your niche audience, like getting into the psychographics, getting into the emotional triggers, getting into the neuroscience of it all. And, okay, so for example, my wife's starting a brand, and she's just started a podcast last week and we've called it Taboo Talk with Sarah, right? So she's diving into the mental wellness space and her audience is she's looking to serve mums who are like her, who have kids with autoimmune diseases, ADHD, MS, the whole lot, right? Because that's us. That's Sarah. Right. And so she's also, a massage therapist. We've just closed down our business in that space. She's a burnt out massage therapist. So there's a demographic there in itself. Right. So now we're clear on who it is we're going to serve them. Now we need to understand how we're going to serve them and why we're going to serve them and getting deep into that space. And so Sarah has, a bachelor's degree in sociology. She has decades of wealth in the massage, health space and the wellness space. And, she's been a student of, practical wellness and mental health in that space for a while now. So now she's bringing her expertise through, an awesome tool called a podcast. And that's how she's serving people. But see, in this whole conversation, there's nothing about sales yet. And it's all about how can we add value to people's lives? How can we bring a message of hope and joy and love in her space to be able to do that? How can we help people feel heard, seen, and connected to help them to do that and build community? See, right now, even at this early days, it's about working out community. And so we need to understand, deeply who it is our audience is. And my thing here is we're all somebody's guide. Like the only difference between you and I, Richard, on this story is experience, is wisdom. Is our failures, is our wins, and all that sort of thing, and everything in between, right? Sucksville versus Awesome Town story, the hero's journey story. We're all somebody's guide. So if you're just starting out as an affiliate marketer or a network marketer, guess what? You're one step ahead of those people who haven't even started yet. So you can be their guide. When I first started in 2010, the very first thing that I did was I documented my journey. The day in the life of a newbie internet marketer in today's world who's starting out, and I'm going to document my journey for the first 100 days. And so I got into blogging, essentially content creation, and I journaled on my journey for the first 100 days, and I just shared my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the raw, the real. And I just shared that from a hero's point of view, not a victim's point of view, and the lessons that I was learning. And I shared that knowledge freely, and I just gave freely. And I actually got no results for the first 100 days. No results. Well, not when I didn't think I was getting any results. And this is why I say, keep showing up, because the silent stalkers are watching. What happened on the 101st day? I got my first sale. On the 101st day, because I just kept going, with the content. And the person said to me, Jeff, I've been watching you for the last 90 days. I love the way that you're showing up. I'm new in this space too. And you're a little bit further down the road. You figured out a few things. Hey, I'd love you to help me to guide me in this process. So I got my first sale. And this is 2010. And I'll remember that day clearly as day, because, I didn't try to sell anybody. I just served, and I just showed up, and I just added value, and the sale happened on the background, because they loved the way that I was showing up. They loved the way that the story that I was sharing. They could relate to what I was going through. They connected to what I was going through. They resonated with what I was going through, and they could see that I could help them. And then the sale on the back end of it just happened naturally. So I didn't force the sale. I didn't even try to sell them. They just came to me and said, Jeff, what are you doing? Who are you involved with? How can I become a part of that? So for someone who's starting today versus, 2010, there's no difference. This is what happens now is just the tools are different. AI helps us to speed up the process to be able to communicate faster and amplify our voice. But we need to understand how to use those tools to help people meet them where they're at, not just try to sell people. This is why I say serve first, add value first, lead first in that space, and just meet people where they're at. Give your knowledge, your wisdom, your experiences freely, and people will come to you. This is attraction marketing, right? The result of attraction marketing is people come to you. Yeah. Is this a fast way to success? No. Is this a get rich quick scheme and get you, make you $1 million overnight? Hell no.
Nope.
But if you continue to just show up, if you continue just to keep serving and keep adding value to people's lives, then it may, I don't know when it's going to happen for you, but it could be 10, 15 months. It could be 10, 15 years before it really starts to happen. And if you look at my story, I've been going since 2009. The end of 2009, started 2010. So what are we, 15 years into it? There are a lot of people that are coming to me, Jeff, and says, hey, Jeff, you look like you're an overnight success story. Well, yeah, but there's been 15 years of bloody trial and error and scuffed my knees and broken bones and, hypothetically, and a lot of pain and anguish and stress and anxiety that's gone through that journey to look like an overnight success story. It's 15 years that you haven't seen. So now, if you're just getting started, start with just figuring it out, who it is you want to serve, and just go serve.
I love it. So how do we get into your ecosystem? How do we get involved with you? Tell us about your group and tell us about everything that's going on in your world now.
Yeah, great question. So look, there are a lot of Jeffery Rosses on Facebook, and the most famous one I can think of is Jeff Ross, who's a Canadian stand-up comedy who just loves to roast people. That is not me. If you go to facebook.com/Jeffery, spelled JEFFERY .Ross 2012, that'll take you to my personal profile. Probably the easiest way to go to is come and join our Facebook group, which is the LLD Legends Social Selling and AI Mastery for Network and Affiliate Marketers. But if you just go to facebook.com/groups/laptop lifestyle dads, actually here, I'll drop the link in our StreamYard chat here for you, Richard, so you've got it. That would be the number one place to get started. So come join our Facebook community. And we love to serve in that space. I'm actually running a free masterclass in about 24 hours, a little bit over 24 hours tomorrow. So the 24th of January, 10:30 a.m. Sydney time. Sorry, forgive me, I can't think of what that is American time conversion, but it'd be Thursday afternoon, evening for you. I'm running a free masterclass, and basically the masterclass is to do a deep dive into attraction marketing, understand the 8-step predictable journey of the customer value journey to take people on, and how to leverage AI to amplify your voice and amplify your influence in that space. So
if I can make it, I'm going to try to make it, brother. I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out today. I'm so grateful just to be in your group, just to be able to be taught, and I'm so humbled and grateful. So I just want to say I love you, brother, and I'm so humbled and grateful. And guys, I always end with this. I'm a big Joel Osteen guy, and something that I love, quote, is every morning we wake up, we can decide to be a victim or we could be a victor. And if you do this show and you show up every day, you're no longer a victim of your past, but a victor of your present and your future. Thank you guys for always showing up and showing love. Jeff, my brother, I love and I appreciate you, brother. I'm going to try to get into that class because Thursday I'm free a lot Thursday night, so I'm definitely going to try to hop on. And I just wanted to say thank you, my brother.
No, I appreciate you, Richard, and really love everything that you're doing, mate. And I can see that you're an ambassador for love, another brother from another mother, say. And mate, love you too. Thank you.
I love you guys. And remember, guys, vertical momentum. The only way to go is up. I love you guys. Have an amazing day. Love one another. All right. My computer's messing up.